Good morning, Turfs Up Radio. Wayne Voles, Profits Unlimited, coming to you live from Louisville, Kentucky. Yes, indeedy. Oh, my goodness, we got a great show planned for you today. We got a very special guest in the house tonight for you guys. You're going to love him, and we encourage any questions that you might have and interaction. But before we get into all that, just we got another rocking day, another Monday here in Louisville. April 27th, it's Derby week, which is a big push for us here, in our market. And I know different markets have different push dates, but for us, Derby's just the big push. And I mean, it's kind of like, initially we hope to get to Memorial Day, but in most markets, you've got something that's that other push, whether you're in Indianapolis, it's 500, in Louisville, it's the Derby. Everybody's got their own little push date where their customer kind of puts their thumb down and says, hey, I'll let you do the work if you can get it done by this date. So we'll be glad to see the first Saturday in May. This year it's early, May 2nd. So we're glad to see the Derby come and go for different reasons than others. But and I've got a gentleman with me today that actually knows a little bit about horses, and I'm sure we'll talk about that as well. I don't know that Mike's a handicapper, but we'll. But he was telling me a little story that when he was 7 years old, he was already selling horses. So I'll have him tell you that story because I always like people to tell their own story. It's kind of like when I go out and I'm talking and somebody, they'll always say, give us a bio. And I said, I always say, just introduce me as a lawn guy. I'm the lawn guy. There's nothing more boring than you hear somebody and somebody reads a 2-page bio on somebody and you're like, well, I don't know if that's good or if that's intimidating or am I in the wrong session? So we got some great knowledge we're going to share today. Mike is going to share with you on what he does and how he does it. And he's one of you guys. He's had a background in education and he's taken that. I met Mike 25 plus years ago. We're trying to figure out exactly when it was. I don't know. We're going to call it about 25 years, but I met him and at a seminar that I was doing up in the Indianapolis area. And, he's got, like I said, quite a diverse background. He'll share that with you too. We'll get him on here in just a minute with us. But hope you had a great weekend. I had a good weekend, but it's not about me. This show's all about you guys. We say that all the time. And but yeah, I had a really cool weekend. Mike, one of our listeners, and Mike, if you're listening to us, it was great coming out to watch you play hockey. I got a picture actually. Katie, I set that on your desk, actually. I was going to let you put that on our socials. So Mike's one of our listeners here, and he told us the other day, he's like, I'm going to come up to Louisville and be playing in a hockey tournament. And so he got lucky enough to get a 12:30 a.m. game. So Daniel and I and Daniel's wife, Caitlin, and Tabitha, the young lady I'm dating right now, and we'll say right now about 3 years, but we all went out to support Mike, and Caitlin and Katie came up with some pictures and signs, for it. And it's like he sent me a thing. They went 4-0 in their tournament, by the way. He sent me a little message yesterday. They went 4-0, and he said he really did appreciate the signs. So it was kind of neat. Daniel, we had a good time out there. Cold. It was colder than I thought I was going to be in an ice rink. I mean, we used to have a team here called the River Frogs, and it wasn't quite as cold in there. But the lady that we were sitting with, she was the wife of one of the other players, and she said it was a little bit unusually cool in there. But I don't know if it was because it was 12:30 at night and it was cool, or if it was really just that cool. But we had a good time doing that, Mike. So I appreciate the invitation of that, and look forward to next time you come back to Louisville, my friend. Get over with us. So let us know, and we'll come out and see you again. And then yesterday or Saturday, went up to watch Tabitha's grandson play a little soccer. So that was it. And yesterday, I just took a little road trip myself, just with a good friend. Went driving around central Kentucky a little bit, and went a couple different campgrounds trying to find a new place to stay this summer. since the lake we go to is closed again for another season. So we got to get that figured out. That's just ruining my summer. I ain't gonna lie. I loved my lake time, and we got to get that figured out to say the least. But we'll get it all figured out. But hey, that's enough about me. It's all about you guys. You know that. And again, if you have any questions as we're talking with Mike, and he was kind enough to bring his wife along with him today. Joyce is with us, and Casey is with us. Very beautiful Irish setter. He Casey was a show dog, so you never know it. Look at him now, laying on our. He's here looking at me, and he's like, "Okay, quit talking about me." But he's really pretty. I mean, I'd never seen an Irish setter in person, and Casey, you're a pretty dog. You really are, and the coat's real shiny, and so it's kind of like we ought to keep our equipment in our industry, right, guys? It's all about image. You know, the image you reflect is the income you can expect. And Casey's got a really good image going on, and Mike was telling me that he did his fair share of dog shows. So, and I'll let him tell you about that a little bit too. I think he certainly likes his Casey, to say the least. Sorry, Joyce, I didn't mean that the way it sounded, but but Joyce even said it's Mike's dog. You know, it's a man's dog. So anyway, we'll talk a little bit more about that. But yeah, are going to take a short break because after this break, I don't know. Mike is like me; he likes to have conversation. So we'll probably have limited breaks as we go through our show today. And again, we certainly looking forward to your all's interaction. I know a lot of you guys listen to us while you're out in the field working, so makes it a little challenging sometimes this time of the year to hop on with us. But yeah, if you got anything you want to talk to Mike about, feel free to shoot us a text. And got our very special guest today with me, Mike Rogers. And Mike, thanks for hopping on with me today.
It's a pleasure.
Pleasure, absolutely. No, it's a pleasure to have you sitting here, man. This guy's awesome, and I'm going to just tell you a little bit, and then I'll let Mike tell his story. If you would, Mike, pull your mic up a little bit closer up there for us. There you go. I think we might be good. There we go. And but I met Mike at a seminar I was doing. We think. Good morning, Seth. Appreciate you hopping on there with us, buddy. Yes, indeedy. He says he knows he's going to like you because an Irish setter is his favorite dog. So there we go.
There's only a few of us that have them, you know.
There we go. There we go. But I appreciate you letting him know that, Seth. But I lost my train of thought. I met Mike about 25 years ago at a seminar I was doing up in the Indianapolis area. And Mike at that time had just retired as a school teacher slash principal. He's got a very diverse background. I'll let him tell you about that. But and he grew that business, and now he's currently a consultant with Synergistic Solutions. And I'll let him tell you a little bit about that, and then a little bit more of our discussion. He is one of 68 consultants in the state of Indiana with some certifications that he has. So, and I'm not doing that to paint the sky too blue because you guys, that's not my style. But he really a great guy, and if you've been to any of our seminars, you know that I still use a referral that you gave me, Mike, on our handouts that says it's your money. What is your money? It's your money. You've earned it. I don't know. I'd have to look exactly what it is, but we get a lot of comments on it. So I still use that testimonial you gave me from that. So without further ado, Mike, thanks.
You're welcome.
And if you wouldn't mind telling our listeners a little bit about your background and how where it all started, where how you got to be a lawn guy, and then what you've transitioned into.
Well, that's very, very kind of you.
A little closer. You can take and bend it if you want it to bend in. There we go.
There we go.
Oh, that's it. Better? That's much better. We got
it now. I'm pretty humbled by the things that you've said. You were a long time ago, you were very, very kind to me when I thought I had control over it and I didn't. So here we go. This will be short and sweet, I hope. Um, Wayne alluded to the fact that we met 25 years ago, and I was fresh out of teaching and had done lots of other things before, built businesses primarily, and got to the place that I retired from teaching and had lost a lot of weight. The doctor said, "You're depressed." And I said, "There's two of us in this room, and one of us is nuts, and it's not me." So finally, he gave me this was a kid I taught in fourth grade years ago after I was a principal. And he said, "Here, Mr. Rogers, read this." So I read it, and sure enough, I had all those characteristics. He said, "You know, you're going to have to find a job instead of fishing all the time." And I said, "What?" And he said, "Yeah, you're going to get something that drives you to make successful because that's what you've done all your life." All the way from a grandfather who couldn't read and write, who would buy a pony and say, "Find somebody that wants to buy this thing after you train it." So I learned business from the ground up. Um, After I retired and the doctor asked me what I like to do, I said, I used to love to mow grass. And from that, I started, and I had a little finance background, so I thought I can figure this out, cost accounting and so on. And then all of a sudden, after spending hours trying to put it together, and I had a pretty good system at the time, I run into this guy named Wayne Voles, and guess what? He had it all in one package, and I thought about the hours that it would take me to sit down and put that thing together, and I went, "I'm going to try this." 25 years later, after building several businesses and helping others build their businesses, and at one time having up to 900 people working with the company that I owned, I finally retired, but I'm back here to thank Wayne and all of you that support him for the wonderful things that he's done to put a shortcut to cost accounting and profit and loss in a book. It's just unbelievable to me that other people haven't done this before. But literally, I used the cost accounting and bidding process from his book to start my business and have grown it, and now finally retiring. But I'm doing some consulting, helping arborists around Indiana, Ohio, and Kentucky, and I become a certified, internationally certified arborist, along with all the lawn and landscaping things. And I'm also a utility arborist. And now we're getting ready to work on OSHA and all the OSHA certifications so we can teach others and teach 10 and 30-hour OSHA cards. So I have I had to come down here today in Louisville and sit down and thank Wayne over and over and over again for what he did for us when we first started.
Well, I appreciate you saying that, Mike, but um, it's very sentimental, man. I mean, just you don't have to do that. Number one.
If I had to, you couldn't get me to do it.
Okay, fair enough. And to hear his voice, you guys have no idea. He's 82, and when I talk to him, or he's getting ready to be 82.
I'm getting ready to be 81.
81.
Quit pushing the
Okay.
envelope, buddy.
Well, but my whole point is you never would know it looking at him or talking to him. Matter of fact, when he called me the other day, a couple of weeks ago, and he asked me, he's getting, and he'll talk about this for you guys in the central Indiana area and whatnot. He's got a class that he's doing up at Purdue in October.
Well, it'll be, yeah, It may be Indianapolis, former
Indianapolis.
office of the Indiana State Chemist.
So, but anyway, he'll tell you more about that. I don't want to butcher it, but
Yeah, you're the one that invented it, and you're going to butcher it. That's hilarious.
but but anyway, tell him, Mike, if you would, more about yourself and your background, if you would. I mean, you didn't give yourself enough credit on your knowledge and education.
That's hilarious.
You asking you to talk, man, right? But no, seriously, Mike's got a very diverse background with education. So he's got a lot of formal education as well as practical lawn and landscape and arborist education as well. Would you mind sharing that background? Because we have a lot of listeners that do have a lot of formal education. We got some guys that, we're glad to get out of high school and don't ever care to see another book,
Well,
and everything in between.
and some of that's true, plus a little more. We have lots of you who have worked very, very hard your entire lives and maybe didn't graduate from high school. Maybe you dropped out right after middle school. And all of us who have lots of education, you have it too, because you've gone out and got your high school diploma by working and earning and proving to people that you could pay your bills and go forward. Yes, are there times when the economics aren't working for us? Absolutely. It was the first 3 years of my business, I didn't take a paycheck. Well, how'd you make it? Well, I kept paying for all the crazy equipment I bought at the outset. When Wayne came into the picture, it helped me transition that and look better at what we were charging. Yes, I had a few degrees. Yes, did I use those degrees as best I could? Yes. But you're as a group, we have the hardest working people on the planet doing hard work every day to make sure that they protect their families. I was one of those poor kids that lived with his aunt and uncle and grew up dirt poor. Got one pair of shoes a year. And if you wore a hole in the bottom of your shoes, you put a piece of cardboard in there or something and blackened it. And normally you had at least one fist fight on your way home from school each week. So if you had two ornery uncles that fought all the time, it was really helpful.
It was to make you get through your own experiences.
Right. Right.
That's right.
So the long and the short of it is I learned to work early and worked hard early. But Grandpa had a neighbor that he loved, and they had a little girl, and I had a little pony. So Grandpa says, that little girl down the road wants to buy your pony. And I said, I don't want to sell the pony. He said, you can buy another one. I said, no, I don't want to sell it. So he went, took me to the killer sale, bought a little pony. That thing almost ate me every day on the way home. It was unbelievable. He bit me 3 times just trying to get me in a trailer. Well, 3 weeks later, we took that pony and sold it to the little lady or the little girl down the street. And I made my first profit, and I was going to put all $12 into my pocket. And Grandpa says, no, we fed it, we bought it. Those numbers come out of the profit. So I learned profit and loss right away, and I lost cost.
How old were you at that point?
7,
8. 7, 8 years old.
Yeah. And so that was my start in business and working at large corporations. Right out of when I was 16, we bought a gas station. My uncle helped me fund it to get it started. Of course, he was still standing there with his hand out every month too, wanting paid back. But point is, we owned a gas station. I was 16 and going to school full time. But the transition I want to make is that, yes, I worked hard just like all of you have. But the real transition into lawn maintenance was created by one thing. Grandpa used to say, find the thing that nobody else will do and do it for your customer. So it was simple. When I went and gave a price on a lawn, I considered an extra 2 or 3 hours in my cost because the first time I mowed the grass, I pulled every weed there was in a flower bed, or took my hoe and I cut all the weeds out of the flower bed, cleaned it up. Then I mowed the grass. I figured out that was tail backwards. I should really needed to mow the grass and then clean the beds up.
Yeah.
It only took me 1 or 2 times of going back
To
and
get
doing
the
it.
chronological order.
Yeah, that's right. So we cleaned that up, and all of a sudden, my business went from 1 or 2 little ladies, and I was fortunate enough to teach in a very, very wealthy neighborhood, even though I lived about 45 minutes away from it. And in the first year, I ended up with about 65 really great clients, and it was wonderful. I'm
Now, what market, if you don't mind sharing that with our listeners?
north side of Indianapolis.
Not that it matters, because we talk about market all the time and everybody thinks their market's different, but this was taking place in
the north side of Indianapolis.
north side of Indianapolis.
Very-
Fisher side or the other side?
on the other side.
Other side.
But really, it was central, right up
Okay.
Meridian Street, which is the central
Oh.
street up through Indianapolis. And most of our clients were lawyers, doctors, but there were lots of people that were not lawyers and doctors in the classes that I had. But those clients, once they saw that I was prepared to do about anything to make sure that their yard looked as nice as it could look, they were in, and it didn't matter what we charged. Even the people who were on welfare, people who had
Do you literally have some of those fixed income people?
Absolutely. That's an interesting way of putting it. Fixed income people. Retired people are fixed income people. That's right. That's funny. Fixed income people. Okay.
Gentleman says Carmel and Westfield, huh?
That's right. I never thought that's something I never thought of. And here that's good. Fixed income people. Anyway, that's hilarious. Anyway.
Sorry to interrupt you.
Oh no, that's hilarious. I like that word hilarious. It pops out of my mouth pretty regularly. But we did things that were no longer cost based. That means that if you bid it and the only thing you're doing is bidding against somebody else's price, you're going to lose someday. If you're bidding the quality of the work, the service of the work, the responsiveness of when someone needs something, and the value of the work, notice that value is only 1/4 of the scope and sequence of what you're going to do. Quality, service, responsiveness, and value. The 4 keystones to any business. And if you structure your bidding around that, you can't put a stake in the way of the person who's going to come in and do it cheaper. And if you find the thing that makes it better and no one else will do, all of a sudden you have a lifelong customer. The most expensive thing that we do is locating customers.
Yeah, that customer acquisition cost us.
It's higher than anything else in relationship to how we operate our business. Well, we just stumble into it. You can't stumble into it. You have to design it, and you design it around what Wayne has taught us through all the books that he's put together of how to go about it. Now, will your way be a little different than that? Absolutely, because we're all individuals and we want to build something that's important to us. And some of us will become servant leaders. How do I become a servant to even the people that work for us, and maybe most importantly, the people that work for us, to help them prosper? When they prosper, we prosper. And to see it the other way is more difficult. There's no question. especially for the people that are doing the work and are helping you make enough profit to make your life better. I would say that that's the way we've built our business. Now we've taken all the lawn and landscape business, and the craziest thing happened to us, Wayne. I'm out mowing grass for some of these people, and the guy came up whose home I was working on, and his wife, and they had me stop the mower, and he said, "Hey, could you do this for our company?" I said, "Who do you work for?" And he told me, and it was the largest public utility in America. And I said, I
Did you get nervous?
I couldn't talk for about 3 minutes. So, and that's unusual for me. But nevertheless, I said, "Well, how big is it?" And he told me how many offices they had in how many states. And I said, "I need some time to think this through, knowing full well when opportunity knocks, you should pay attention."
Right.
So I said, "I will be happy to look at it. And then at the end of the year, and you pay me some kind of consulting fee, I'll go out and study it and tell you whether it can be done more economically, but most especially better, or you wouldn't be asking me about it. You want the same quality of work with the same service, the same responsiveness at still a value, but you want it more quality driven." And he said, "That's exactly what I want." So they gave me a contract for a year to go out and study all these district offices they had. And I came back with a proposal.
Now, how long had you been in business when this took place?
3 years.
Just 3 years in.
3 years in.
Okay.
And I'm sitting there going, "Lord have mercy, how am I going to do this?" So I
Right.
utilized our own crews, which was myself and three fellows. And I started thinking about all over the state of Indiana, Ohio, Kentucky, and some in Tennessee, some in North Carolina, some in South Carolina, and some in Florida. So I wanted to deal just with Indiana, Ohio, and Kentucky because I wanted to make sure the plan that I was going to create could be quality engineered and inspected weekly to make sure the quality was higher than where it was. And what was really interesting, some of their own employees were currently cutting the grass and trimming the hedges.
Okay. So, so they had their line guys.
Yeah, that's
Or,
right. They had their utility linemen out mowing grass some days.
yeah. Rather than doing what they're good at.
Well, and if they weren't busy, that's one issue. But sometimes they were busy and the grass got out of control, or the flower beds weren't cleaned. Long and the short of it, we put the proposal together, and they said, "Yes, we want you to do it. Can you start in March?" And I went, "Yes," because I'd laid it out in the plan. I set goals and objectives. Then I said, "Okay, here are the goals and objectives. How do I implement this so I can control it? And how do I measure our success and failures as we go along?" And let me say this, failure is a positive word. It's like a conflict. You have resolution, and that makes both parties stronger. And then what is the cost going to be? Well, coming up with the cost did not work until I ran into Wayne. All of a sudden, I had a pattern of how I could set it together and put all the pieces in place and come up with a number. Had I not run into Wayne, and I keep telling you everybody about this because of how important he was to my life, you just don't know when it's going to come your way, as long as you're doing quality service, responsiveness, and value. So in March, we started cleaning up flower beds and all that. We had lots of vendors. that were all motivated and understood that quality was first. the They already knew what they were going to get paid. We knew who had the load and relationship to cost. All those things happened at the same time. And what was really scary was that all of a sudden, when the district offices started looking nicer, people would come over and start talking to the vendors at the same time to see if they could do the same thing on their personal properties. So now the people that were in residential in the first place get a commercial account, and Lord have mercy, they all jump 50% in the regular residential work. So now, if they've priced it right and they're there for quality, service, and responsiveness, and then the price wasn't as difficult.
It wasn't as the hurdle to get over, was
It
it?
wasn't, because the quality was higher.
Yeah.
And they learned to
Now, did
do
you all
things.
continue to do that bed maintenance, or was that like, hey, we're going to come in and get it looking good, and then that became part of the maintenance price moving forward?
Now, this is how we did that.
How'd y'all do that?
That it was real simple. We went in, cleaned it all up for the first time, and every time we went by, every time we mowed grass, we went out and pulled the weeds out of the bed. At the first year, we ate that. Second year, we charged for it and explained it to the customer. We said, you know, all the work that we did for you cleaning beds last year? Yes, ma'am. Well, we really invested in your property and in you. We'd like to be able to charge this much extra to take care of those beds for you. Now that you've done it 1 year, what is the chance that they're going to back away from a modest increase of $8 to $10 per mowing? They're not going to do that, because you have shown them what it can look like. So it's their choice. If they don't want to pay it, that's fine.
Right.
We'll keep mowing the grass, but they'll have to take care of it themselves.
That's something I've never thought of doing, honestly, Mike. I mean, we get pretty creative around here on what we try to do to create customer loyalty, and that that I, that is, I mean, that is the finishing touch of the job, really.
Yes, it is, because
It's kind of like a haircut. You just don't get the top part cut; it's the trim and the around the ears and the neck
right.
that makes it look right, and
That's right. And the other piece of this is you have literally taken a stake out and driven it through your competitor's business.
so. Without, or maybe you got the number on top of your head, but what did that cost you to do versus what did you want your payback to be on that long term? Hey, we're going to eat this for the first year, and once that customer hits a 3 year plateau with us, or 2.5 years in, we're going to, once we start charging that second year, I mean, I don't want to get you down a tangent you didn't want to go down, but
oh, it's okay.
What was the recovery of that investment of time and effort on your all's end?
1 year.
1 year. Okay.
Okay. So the
loyalty creation, though,
it's over.
Was perpetual per se.
It was over. The loyalty is over. They are loyal to the finishing end. So who gets to do the snow? I did. Who gets to do, if you know someone, who gets to do the concrete? I did. Who takes care of a roofing problem? I did. Not that I did it,
right?
Not that my company did it, but I had subs all over, people that I knew, because we were all working together.
You were their contact for what they needed done.
That's right. And they called me every time. My wife, Joyce, sitting over here, she'll say, yeah, he worked about 18, 19 hours a day, 7 days a week for 4 years before we took a vacation. Yes, that's true. But every minute was programmed for so much money, and I hit those levels every time using your approach. Every time. And if it took 7 days a week and we made X, Then if I'd have worked an eighth day, if there was an eighth day in the week, it would have been X plus 8 hours
Yeah.
or 10 hours or whatever it was. And I never took a new client until I mowed it once. I wanted to make sure after I did 6 weeks or 6 months of that.
Explain that a little bit. You mowed it once before you contracted it with them?
That's right.
So what's your presentation? What did that presentation look like when you were doing that?
Well, let's play that.
Okay.
Okay, you want to have fun?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
we'll do this.
Yeah, we'll role
Mr.
play it.
Bowles, I wanted to tell you that I'm very appreciative that you called us. You don't know much about me or our business, but I want you to know we're related to the same things you want. You want quality in the things you purchase. You want good service to make sure it stays the way the quality was shown you at the outset. We want you to be sure that you know we are responsive. If you have a problem with anything we've done, or you want it a little different, so because you have a party coming on, you call us and let us know, and we'll be responsive to any of those needs. If we've missed something, you please call us. We have a quality engineering program. We have people that come around and inspect our work that work with us. But we want you to know that we're human like everybody else and we could make a mistake. But if you call us, we're going to be here, and we'll be here sooner than you want us here sometimes. But you call us and we're going to try to make it back that day. If not, it'll be the first thing the next morning because we have a crew that is, if we get that kind of response from you, that we get a response back to you immediately, and we want to do it at a value. We want you to know at the end of this, if you really want quality, you want service, you want responsiveness at a value, we're going to prepare that and we're going to be consistent about it every time. And so, how would you like us to go about doing this for you? I didn't ask if they were going to be my customer. I assumed that they were going to be my customer.
Assume consent. My dad taught me that a long, long time ago in selling.
Exactly right.
That you go with assume consent a lot and see what happens.
You do it every
You just
time.
do it, assume consent.
Yes.
And for if you're not familiar with it, it's not arrogance. I had a hard time understanding that.
It is not.
It's not being arrogant. It's being confident in what you know you can deliver to your client.
Yes, and if you explain it the way I did and the paraphrasing that I used to do this, it works every time. Now, well, what's it going to cost? Let me do it the first time, and we'll estimate it's $30 this time, and we'll come up and estimate it. And then after we've measured it and done all the things, and we really put a weekend of where we're cleaning it up and those kinds of things, we'll get all that done for you, and then we'll sit down with you and show you what we think it ought to cost. And if you don't want to do it that way, that's fine, and we understand. Now, say, how in the world can you pay for that? Well, how much money do you put into advertising? And you cannot, in advertising, and I've had enough advertising classes at universities to tell you that there's no way to measure how much money you spend in advertising on television, radio, anywhere else to give you some kind of marker or keystone that says, if I do this in advertising, here's my outcome.
Correct.
When you do it the way that we've invented, you can measure it every time because you're face to face with the person and you learn what not to say and what to say to help them make that consent appropriate.
Yes, that makes sense.
Now, you can put, so my first time to cut that thing, now if we're talking about 3 acres, that's a different issue. But if we're talking about a half acre to an acre lawn, you know about what it's going to cost, and you can change it a little bit depending upon your relationship with the client. If the client's bought in at the very outset, yeah, I need somebody that's really interested in quality, service, responsiveness, and value, then give them an appropriate number for the number of acres you have or the number of square feet you have and tell them that, but you'd like to be able to sit down and build another relationship with them. You're not going to say that. What you're going to say is, I'd like to sit down with you after we do it once and discuss the cost for the future. Mm-hmm. But you've already cleaned the flower beds now. The place looks different than they've ever had it look before. And then when you sit down and talk, you're talking about what the balance ought to be in relationship to the cost you charge them at the outset. You're talking about other things they'd like to have done, like weeding, putting in flowers, doing all those kinds of things that you normally would do. You're talking about fertilizing the lawn. You're talking about a 4-step or 5-step program and weed control. You're talking about the trees and what you can do with trees, trimming them, they lose limbs, that kind of thing. You'll pick that up or cut it up for them and you'll agree to a price. So what you're doing is you're building through conflict resolution, because everybody that sees us comes to the door and we're knocking on their door about mowing their lawn. They see that as a conflict. So conflict mediation and learning to take two ends of a continuum. One person's mad about this side, one person's mad about this side, and you're coming to resolution makes the long-term viability of the relationship between your customer and you unbreakable. It's never going to be about cost. It's going to be about the quality, service, responsiveness, and value, and how you've built that relationship.
So within that business model, Mike, let me ask you, how do you lose a customer? What, because I know you had a really good retention rate, but I mean, I'm sure you lost some, or did you?
6%.
Okay. And so what
Not, and
what
that's
was the
6% over time. It wasn't 6% per year.
per year?
It's not like compound interest.
And that's not the same number for you guys thinking, from a number standpoint, there's a big difference between 6% over time versus
6%
6%
a
of
year.
total customer base every year is a term.
Oh yeah. I mean, we
Yeah.
might out of in that first year we ended up having 56 customers, and the profit was unbelievable. Even though we bought all new equipment and a 28-foot trailer and filled it with two of everything in case one broke so we could go ahead and go on.
Yeah.
I mean, we did think some before we started. And again, your model helped us figure that out a lot quicker than had I done it the other way. Our retention rate was incredible. Everybody said, "What is he doing? Is he paying them to mow their grass or what?" And there was some of that.
Yeah.
Some of the competitors wanted to blow the tires out of the trailer and all that. But the real relationship gets down to, how do you take a person who's resistant to spending money on their property, knowing that that property is nothing more than what? What do you think the property really is? It's an asset. Real estate people are primary examples of who we ought to be talking to, because they want to sell a house and everything outside the wall, like a condominium, everything outside is asset. Now, if you want it to look great and you want it to bring the highest asset value, then you clean it up, you sparkle it, you do everything you have to make that property curb appeal at its highest. And that will help sell a house. Now, we already talked, I talked to the realtors about the arboriculture business, because that's the business our lawn and landscape business matured into after I sold it.
So how long were you in the lawn and landscape side?
Let's see, 18 years.
18 years.
But I built the arboriculture business along with it.
Okay.
Okay. So after we worked our, this is really important. That relationship you build with that client cannot be about money. You have to reach a reasonable amount of money based upon what you need to recover to pay for all your equipment, your insurance, all the other things that involve with it, including lunch for your people if you take them to lunch sometimes. All that's factored in to your cost. Then have a reasonable amount of profit, whatever that is that needs to be achieved to make sure your family's okay, your trucks are okay, that you can lay down and sleep at night at least 8 hours if you're lucky.
I was going to say, you just told us that was pretty challenging at first for you.
Yeah, well, some days today it seems challenging,
yeah.
but it's getting better. The point is that that is the key to this industry, serving people and not being arrogant about it, but being a real servant, helping them get to where they want it to be. Mr. Brown, who's an attorney, he's interested in one thing: get in there, get it done. We might have people over next week. Do you mind coming an extra 20 minutes and doing this, this, and this? Mrs. Jones, who's been in the horticulture business her whole life by going to seminars and having exotic plants, her perception of it may be different. So, how do you serve both those people? By being a servant and saying to them, whatever you need to make this place look the way you want it to, your home, and continually improve your asset value. And people look at you, go, what do you mean asset value? That tree, if we trim it appropriately, that tree adds $4,500 worth of asset to this property. Well, how do you know that? Because I know what the tree costs. I know what it costs to plant it. I know what it costs to make sure that we pick the right tree in the first place. It's not too close to the house, and where to put it, and so on. And you do the same thing with flowers. All of a sudden now, what are you doing again? You're going through conflict mediation, building a resolution that people cannot come in and price you out of it. You've done it from the other side. You've done it from quality, service, responsiveness, and value is fourth. So somebody coming down the street with a pickup truck with one or two mowers on the back, and he's coming up and he's got a sloppy old shirt on, big old nasty beard.
Yep.
and
yeah,
just looks like he fell off the garbage truck, is not coming to his door. Now, can you be heavy and do this work? Absolutely. As long as you got a smile on your face and people know you're a servant. But until you get to that place and you're helping that person see what value there is in their property, not the house, everything surrounds it that makes it look different and better. That's where you build the relationship with that client, that they don't want to have anyone else do the work except you.
How did you all get rid of Mike? If you guys may have joined us late, this is Mike Rogers with Synergistic Solutions. He's a consultant. And how did you deal with the quote unquote tire kickers of the industry, the people that are calling and it's strictly a price driven function? Because I know we got guys that are thinking that right now. It's like, okay, this all sounds great, but how'd you get past that clientele?
I believed that if someone called, they deserved the same level of intensity that the other person did. And if they were tire kickers, that's okay, but they got to smell what it could be like if they made the extra investment in their property.
That is so funny to hear you say that. My dad taught me, he said, Wayne, he said, in selling, you sell the sizzle, not the steak. You know, you sell the sizzle, not the steak. And that's something that it goes back, or another way of putting that, that he trained me with was sell the benefits, not the features. Of what you're offering somebody. And that sounds like what you did with your business was captured the sizzle side, the value, the responsiveness, the quality, right? I mean, that's what we all want. I mean, that's what we all want as consumers. And then the what something's charging isn't the most important factor, because it goes back to my translation of that again, going back to my father, was Wayne, he said, people that hire you for price will fire you for price.
Yes, that's exactly right.
You
Now,
know,
the other piece of it is, let's say Mrs. Brown or Mr. Brown said, I'm on what was that income thing that you
fixed
said?
income.
Yeah, I'm on a fixed income. I wanted to hear that twice out of your mouth in the same presentation. Anyway, I'm on a fixed income and I can't really afford that every week. Well, what if we did this? What if we reduced some of the service and we did some of the services every 2 weeks? Is this a number that's more comfortable? Or better yet, what number is comfortable for you? Then you go back and you modify right there on the spot. You modify what you're going to charge, and maybe you go from, if you know what your cost is and you know what your profit would like to be, and you can make a change in the way he sees the world, that he's willing to give up drinking 2 6 packs every week to 1 6 pack, he can make it, and so can you. Being short of cash is normally on that. What was that again?
Fixed income.
Person.
Fixed income. You like that?
I love that. I
I
mean,
cannot believe in all your experiences you've not heard that in the residential market.
I probably have, but I've ignored it. You know why?
Yeah,
Because
it
they
didn't.
say, what am I? You don't have to say to you or to the person, you don't have to say, well, you're going to have to give up something. You have to make the other thing look like ice cream and the beer not be ice cream.
Yeah,
And so they have to know that their property value goes up,
right.
because you know, on a fixed income, you never know whether you're going to be here next week or the week after. And if your wife or your spouse is still alive and they have to sell that house, would they rather have it look gorgeous the minute you die, or would they rather have it be fixed
Right.
and pay all that costs at the end? Now, that you don't have to sit down and tell people that. All you have to do is say that your property, the way your property looks, is a capital asset. That means it's worth more money if it looks nice than it. And anyone can understand that.
Right.
They get it. And once you help present that to the person and you get them nodding their head up and down, you make sure that the price fits your profit motive and it fits their motive, no matter what you can do. Now, if it's a tire kicker and he says, this is just too outrageous. Well, can you help me understand what might be something that makes sense to you financially? And then you get to say no. All of a sudden, you switch it from them saying no to you saying, as much as I want to help you and keep your capital asset. Now, a lot of people won't understand what that is, but once they say your house has value, or once we say your house has value, your property has value, and we can increase the value of your property by maintaining it in a certain way. What's that?
The boss is coming after Mike for a minute. So, hey, I'll tell you what, we'll take a short break. We'll be right back with more Profit Time with Mike Rogers, kind enough to hop on with us. And we're going to go ahead and go a little bit longer than normal. Mike's with Synergistic Solutions, has a lawn and landscape business just like you guys, understands that industry, went into arboriculture work. And Mike, if you would, what took you down the road quick on trees, the arboriculture side, and then how did all this just work for you? I mean, what provided the foundation to know that, hey, I need to, because somebody with your background in education, I mean, school principal, teacher, plenty of formal education. Um, you didn't have to go out in search of additional knowledge, but you did. So I'm curious, what
That's funny.
what
You had to go and I was so upside down. I
I mean,
mowed grass and I thought I understood that. And then all of a sudden I get into it and I know absolutely nothing. That's hilarious.
when did you realize you didn't know what you didn't know? That
Well, something, I don't know why I said it that way. The thing that's most interesting to me is that I had a desire to learn. So I was competent in what I did, and it just wasn't a part time casual activity. And it's not that I'm smart because I have an average IQ like everybody else. But as my grandfather said, people may be smarter than you, but nobody has to work any harder than you. So I want, I hope that as you are listening, that you know the following thing. You may not be the smartest guy on the planet, but there's not anything you can't learn. And if you're persistent and you have those life skills that all of us want, and maybe you have to be 81 to get to the place that you've got half of them learned, you can learn everything I learned because I can do it, you can. And Wayne knows where I live and my phone number. And if you need help, you have Wayne. You talk to Wayne about it, and I'll be glad to come back and do the radio show again. Or if you want an individual call, you have to call Wayne and talk to him about that. And we'll be glad to help you in any way we can. That's including traveling and sitting down and talking to you about your business as long as Wayne's involved and coordinates it. The other, hang on one second, I've got a phone here that's about to go off. What's now off, thank goodness. I'm sorry.
that's all right. You're
Your
good. You're
audience
good.
should your audience shouldn't have to put up with a crazy old man that's phone goes off. Um, just know that you listen to all these things and the language, which gets us screwed up more than anything else because we feel intimidated because this guy says it this way and I've never even thought about this. How do I learn that? And language is a problem. And it's a problem for each one of us as we go into new things and we don't know exactly how to phrase it. Well, we can teach you that. It's not something that Wayne or I can't teach you, and we're more than glad to help you with that. Um, I think Wayne was interested. You stop me if I'm wrong about talking. How in the world did you get into arboriculture?
Yeah. How did you go from the
Lawn maintenance.
lawn maintenance side all the way over to the tree side? I mean, it's like two separate worlds, even though they're very closely related.
Well, they're not two separate
But
worlds, but nice try. They're one they're one activity because it's lawn maintenance. And what's in the lawn?
or the
A tree.
trees.
And that tree per hour is worth more money than you can ever imagine in relationship to maintaining it and trimming it in the proper way, not the way that most people trim them.
All right.
And anytime that you want to know how to look at that, all you have to do is get on any website and say, how do you properly prune a tree? And it'll tell you step by step by step. And when we top trees the way some of us do, that hurts that tree long term because it will not develop girth or width, diameter.
Okay.
It'll stay very, very poor in relationship to building diameter. Now, will it build diameter over time if you top it every 2 or 3 years? Yes, it will, but it'll be modest because it takes that photosynthesis at the top of the tree and all those leaves to build diameter and root.
Okay.
So the long and the short of it is I went by a tree one day and I thought, I wonder what this business would be like if you also trim trees. Well, so being the person I am and wanting to be inquisitive and wanting to do it right, I immersed myself in how to do it. And then I practiced on the trees in our own yard, which did not go well the first year or two. But after I started doing it and learning more about trees, and reading is something now that we have audiobooks about how to trim trees and all kinds of websites that you can do, and YouTube is phenomenal because they'll teach you how to do it correctly and incorrectly and how to be safe doing it. And when you plant your first tree, guess when you trim it?
Tell us.
When you plant it. You don't just stick it in the ground. You know the principles.
And what's the advantage of that?
Well,
For our
because
listener.
as it gets taller and as it gets bigger, you don't have as much to remove it to make it balanced. And if you don't,
So somebody puts a 2-inch caliber tree in, Mike, let's say,
uh-huh.
12 to 15-foot tree. You're saying at that point in time, trim it back?
Well, you don't trim it back. You
Or
trim selectively certain limbs that might cross, certain limbs that are too close. You have three major sections to a tree. Can I get into this a little deeper now?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we're good on
The first major problem or major function is the roots. So the root systems go out as wide as the tree canopy. So the top of the tree is out 6 feet on each side of the main stem, or what we call the trunk.
Okay.
And it's out that far, and the root system's out that far. Now, when a tree blows over, all you see is a snow cone upside down. Monocot or dicot? Both. Both.
Would you explain that? Do we get the text to our listeners?
Let me read it again. Monocot or dicot, they both need coddled. That's right. There's an arborist on this line. I can see that. Or if he's not, he ought to be, and I can help you do that because I only live 30 minutes from you. And it might be somebody I know. Lord help us.
So go on with that,
Okay.
what you were talking about, and then build that in if you would.
Okay. Every tree, a monocot or a dicot, and we don't need to get into that at this point.
Okay.
But we can eventually. All of them need coddled, and coddled is an interesting word. I don't know if it's a synonym for what we really need to do and what we're after or not. But let me go back to the main system of the tree. You have a root system, and it comes up to a collar at the bottom, or the root collar. Then from there up to the first limb is the trunk.
Okay.
The first limb that comes off the trunk is called a number one. Something that comes off a number one must be a number two. And something that comes off the number two must be a
three.
Right.
All right.
So you can go up that tree when it's fully grown, 36 or 40 inches in diameter. And what are you going to trim? You're going to trim crossing branches. You're going to trim back some of the 4s and 5s and 6s that make it go different directions.
All right.
You might take some 1s out, but you're looking for a primary lead up from the trunk that goes straight up. The biggest thing that happens are codominant branches. Guess when they happen? When the tree's younger. So if you trim the codominants out of it, or a V shape, when you plant it, you're going to reduce the amount of time and effort put into trimming that tree as an adult, which requires a bucket truck, thousands of dollars of equipment, hundreds of thousands of dollars of training for the people that do it, and someone that's competent enough that's not going to get up there and butcher it. So you go by a yard where an arborist has taken time to learn how to do this, or you as a landscaper have learned how to trim trees, and we can teach you all that, or send you books or tell you where to buy them or whatever you need, and YouTube will show you how to do it right. And you learn how to do that when the tree is really young, you'll make an extra $100 to $150 every time you do it. And to charge less than that, don't do it, because it's not, now you're getting paid for what you know, not necessarily what you do.
Right.
And the minute you get to that place, just like you do when you're mowing and spraying and taking the weeds out of the bed that somebody else won't do, all of a sudden you create another impact relationship that is not motivated by cost.
Right.
Once that homeowner understands that's a capital asset, and if I trim the dead out of it when it's larger, or as it gets larger, every 3 to 5 years, I have the arborist or I have my landscape person go in there and trim that tree, and we can teach you to climb. If you don't ever trim anything above your head, because you'll get your face cut in half, and that's not a pleasant thing. But there are all kinds of things that you can do as that tree is growing up to protect it and reduce the amount of time it's going to take with a bucket truck to reach it and get up there. And if you get to the place that you, after 3 years, and there's a very strong possibility you've been working around trees for a year or 2 or 3, if you've been there 3 years in that industry where you've been working with trees, guess what? You can go take the arborist test. Now, before you go think you can take the arborist test and pass it like you did your 3A or 3B or category 6 or category 5 in your state chemist test, there's 17 basic cognate areas, which means that there's all this information in 17 different areas you have to pass a test over.
Okay.
So most people don't pass it the first time, and sometimes don't pass it. I know a fellow in Indianapolis who works for the city. He's a wonderful man. He's a great trimmer. He's taken it 18 times and never passed it. But he loves what he does. So going back to the tree, just know that that relationship with that tree will bring you more money by accident than you ever made on purpose in relationship to time and effort.
Okay.
So if you take a full-size tree that's grown and has not been touched, it's now 22 inches in diameter, and no one ever trimmed it, you may be on that tree all day.
What's the frequency of what's a good pruning habit?
A good pruning habit is that, first of all, you prune that thing when you put it in the ground.
Yeah.
And then every 3 to 5 years, depending upon how it grows.
Okay.
Okay. So we go by every year. You say, why do you do that? Well, what if the wind blew a limb out and the people didn't call you and there's a broken limb up there?
All right.
So you're going by and you're going to get up in that tree. You're going to take that, you're going to prune it appropriately. You're going to take all the stuff, throw it in your truck or in a chipper and go away. Well, just doing that as a service to your client, you're going to charge them $300 to do that minimum. If it's a limb less than 12 to 13 inches, if it's less than that, you're still going to, that's your starting price, $200 to $300.
Okay.
Because all you have then is your person.
Well, then how does a person come up with that cost?
Oh, it's the same way you did it. You use the same stinking model. Oh, I shouldn't have said that. You use that. I apologize. Use that same
So the methodology is going to apply. You've applied it to trees, to lawns, to landscape, to
concrete,
yeah.
roofing. It's all the same.
We talk about that anytime where you put time, material together, and equipment, it'll calculate that cost.
You know what I didn't do the first year? We had breakfast 3 days a week. You know who did not put that into the formula? Mike. Then all of a sudden I figured out, why is it that I'm down $15,000 in relationship to my projection? And I went back and I went, are you crazy? You haven't been counting the mornings that you guys go out and have breakfast. $15,000. I'm off my mark.
Funny you mentioned that. I mean, legitimate, right? It's a legitimate cost, legitimate expense. When I'm sitting down with somebody talking to them on a one-on-one basis, I'll say, look, if you're going out and you're with your significant other and you're paying dinner with a company credit card, that's additional overhead. Put that in there.
As long as, from an IRS point of view, as long as you talked about your business and you've written that on the receipt.
Yes.
If you haven't talked about it, then you make sure
you do. Make sure you do.
Yeah. Right. And the transportation to and from in your private car is also deductible. Your parking is deductible. Yeah. All of that incidental things that you don't consider going through it in your initial step to look at costs.
Yes.
And plus profit, all of that includes everything you do, including your boots, your pants, and everything.
Yeah. So don't forget the little things is the message here. Like Mike said, he was wondering why am I 15,000 off a year? Whether it's 15 or $5 or $300, it doesn't matter what the off is, other than a staggering number you gave me earlier about a company that rounding errors at 30 million is or whatever it was. But it's all perspective on the size of your company. So what $1,000 to one company, Mike, and is a big deal, but it may not be anything to somebody else. But the point is, it's your money, you've earned it. Know how you're going to recover it, and if you want a simple recovery methodology, it can be done. It's easy.
The major thing is your books teach all that. Now, what happens is we don't pay attention.
Yeah.
The business owner doesn't pay attention. And I look at it, you say $50 or $500, whatever it was that you said a minute ago. Every dollar. Now, you may say, that tight-fisted old coot. Every dollar I spend, I look for a way that's a business deduction. If it's not, I go ahead. But a dollar in my hand is not a dollar in your hand if you're my customer.
Correct.
So a dollar is a dollar. And the amount of work you have to go and do to get that dollar is represented by profit from my point of view.
Yeah.
So it's not $5, it's not $10, it's every dollar belongs to me, or it's a way to at least get 35% of it back into my pocket.
Right.
It means that IRS is going to take 30% of it. So why not that be my 30 cents rather than theirs?
Then there's figure out a way to make it happen.
Yeah, and don't lie. For God's sakes, don't lie about it. Do not cheat about it. Be as honest as you know to be, because you will, and save every stinking receipt, every one. And as God is my witness, if you ever get audited, when we had our horse business and we owned a vet clinic, my wife and I and family owned a vet clinic with a veterinarian, and I had an audit. Now, I want you all that are listening to sit down and hold your seat. We spent 4 weeks with a tax attorney and an accountant with the IRS to end up in our audit. And our audit was over and we had no changes in it. But the cost of going through that was astronomical.
I can imagine what that looked like.
No, you
Yeah.
can't.
It would it's just that's
Nice
a lot
try.
of time, a lot of labor hours. Somebody was getting billed, right?
Yeah,
I
I got
mean,
billed $300 an hour from the
yeah,
attorney, and that's been 1970. That was 1979.
yeah.
Crazy. But back to our tree, we've got a root system above the roots where they come together. There's a trunk to the first lead. Then you look for the parent stem going straight up. Anything that comes off the main parent lead is a number one, then the number two off that number one, threes off the number twos, and so on.
Right.
And you can learn that's called prescriptive pruning. You have tree risk assessment, which we talked about, walking through the yard, hitting a tree with a mallet, or just walking through it, doing a visual assessment. Then you have a level 2 assessment, and then you have a level 3. That's all on the tree side. And then, of course, you're doing all your lawn and landscape work too. But the tree side is exciting because you can go to work in the environment that my company was in, and that's removing trees under power lines. And we're the only company in America that gets 85% of the trees removed in under the power line without conflict. In 14,
Conflict meaning what?
you are the homeowner, and you and grandma put a brand new pine tree 2 feet tall right under the power line. Now that tree has grown.
Yeah, 20 years later, here we got a problem.
We've got a problem. The tree is near or up in the line, and in most cases, not always, there's a perpetual easement, which means that the easement goes on forever, which means that the power company can do anything they want to underneath that line. But it's still grandma's tree. That's an extreme case. Most people just have trees up in them and they love their trees. God love them because it's a capital. It's capital. It means their property's worth more money. So you take that position and you say, who in America can get 85% of the trees removed underneath a power line on the right of way without conflict? I believe, and I think I've proven it. I don't have all the evidence with me, of course, today, but I believe we're the only company in America that gets that done. And the reason we get it done is because we taught all our people how to do conflict mediation, how to mediate a conflict at a door and reach resolution about it. And I know that's as arrogant as anybody wants to get, but I truly believe that. And what happens is now you have a customer base of a little over 13,000 people in 2,000 miles of right of way that swear by us. There's one guy that swears at us, but most of the people love what we do.
As we wrap up, we got about 6 minutes.
What?
6 minutes.
I thought 15 minutes was all we were going to have, and here we are, Billy
Yeah,
Goat
we
Running.
got 6 minutes if that's all right.
That's all right. You bring it to a close, will you?
Well, what would you say, in your opinion, Mike, going from your uh, your doctor saying, "Hey, go out and do a few lawns," but you seem stressed out, to, "Well, no, I'm not the crazy one here." What would your suggestion be to a one truck operation and a multi crew company? What would you say your most important advice to somebody trying to get in the business or already in the business? What's the most important thing that you think they should look at?
Being a servant, making sure, of course, your cost, but
Right.
your books and the way you teach it has brought that to a place that I look at it and I go, what things aren't on here that I'm going to do, and figure out that pricing. That's all important. But if you want it to grow, you be a servant and you put that homeowner or your client in a position where they get to see the facts over quality, service, responsiveness, and value. Any any place you go that understands business will tell you there are four keystones to business: quality, service, responsiveness, and value is last every time. But being a servant, being willing to share whatever you need to share with a homeowner to help them understand the values in their property
Right.
and what is it worth at some level where you can make a profit, or you go out of business if you don't make a profit. So you know what your standard is per 1,000 square feet on spraying and or
Well, I
what.
know one thing you did at one time, not to interrupt you there, but I mean, talking about understanding the need to make a profit, it sounds like a basic fundamental, and it is, but most of our industry doesn't understand that. They don't understand what it costs them to put a truck and trailer and equipment, regardless of the service, in front of somebody's property.
That's exactly right. And remember
And
when we started talking at the outset, all the business degrees or all the degrees in accounting or all the work you've done in accounting is meaningless unless you have a place to apply it.
right,
So everything that you do has a cost. Everything. You get your key, you go get in the truck, you start it. Cost. Cost of what? From the time you got out of bed and you walk through that door, you count that. You count the time from X to Y, from the door to your truck. That's your time. You should be billed for it because you're going to work that minute. You might be walking next door. That's cost. Feeding your guys. All the other things that are in your book are right there for you to keep an eye on for X number of weeks and then come to the miraculous. Yeah, it's a miraculous understanding when you finally get to the point you go, "Oh my Lord, I'm not counting that. Oh
well,
my Lord." Now, me being more anal retentive than anybody you know probably, I keep track of that stuff every day and every minute because it's my dollar and I've earned it.
you've earned it. You've earned it. You deserve it. You keep it. You
Thank
know,
you.
that's it, right?
Would you call IRS and ask them if that's
Yeah.
possible,
Well, they
please?
didn't seem to think that the other day when I had my little CPA discussion. but to Mike's point, and I do. I'm a firm believer everybody needs a good CPA. You need a good CPA, regardless of the size of your company, whether you're doing $10,000 a year or anything on up the chain. You need to have a good CPA that can help you manage the money that you've went out and earned.
With one
And,
exception, or with one
go
addition,
ahead.
I'm sorry.
No,
That addition is that you spend 2 hours with him for the first 3 months, letting him know what you do.
let them make sure they understand
And
your business.
and he has to read your book too,
Yeah,
because he doesn't understand what's bringing all these numbers in. And he may say, well, we can deduct this when you don't know.
right.
So I take him your sheets and I teach him what I've learned. And then he understands it and he knows how to manipulate those things. Just like if you buy $110,000 chipper to go on the back of your truck.
Right.
Now, this isn't something you bought at Walmart. And you hook that thing on there, and all of a sudden, going to get it, bringing it back, and hooking on your truck is all cost. It's all cost. It's all
Yeah.
deductible. It's in your truck. It's in all your personal time and so on. And then you get to decide whether you're going to take that chipper as a deduction that year because you've made so much money, or you're going to do it over 3 or 5 years. And then there's a chance that you can change the ratio from 3 to 5 to all at once.
Yeah.
And he has to understand what you're doing.
That's the value. That's the value in a good CPA.
Yeah. And to take it one step further, it's got to be a firm that's willing to stand behind it if they go and make a mistake. So if they make a mistake, who's it on? You or them? It's on them. They don't pay uh, your federal tax for
Sure.
the money held back
Yeah,
for
let's
your
call it a
people.
941. Yeah, your 941's
Yeah,
not paid.
let's say your 941's not paid. Who's been paying it? They have.
Yeah.
Who's it on? You or them?
Yeah.
The penalty's on them.
Should be on them.
What not should be is by law, it's on them.
So,
okay. So, have you worn me out yet?
I think the only thing we've done is run out of time.
Oh, okay.
But we'll certainly get you back on again. And Mike, thanks a lot. And
thank you for this.
I appreciate an hour and a half of your life. And I appreciate your kind testimonial about our products, that we've got available. And
that's a kind way of saying testimony, because please don't put me on the city square and let me tell everybody about it.
But you certainly applied it in the way it's intended to be applied, and obviously done very well with it, and grew a business, sold it, now in another business, and training and that whole thing. Just real quick, and we'll hop off. You've got a class that you're going to be doing in October, you said?
Yes.
And you want to talk just a minute on that?
Office of the Indiana State Chemist has come, and I've been with them for 25 years now. They've asked about teaching a little bit about what you do and the way I apply it to my business, because when they present new ideas to people like myself and you and all the rest of us that are listening today, we walk up and say, well, how do we charge for that?
Yeah, it's the biggest question everybody gets.
So what we're going to do is I'm hoping that you'll come up and do this with me, the two of us.
Oh, I'd love to do it. I think that's my foundation. I love to talk about cost recovery in a simple methodology that anybody can apply.
That's exactly right. And we need to talk about that some more. Maybe something like this would be what we could do, or we can modify it. But that's what the Office of the Indiana State Chemist has asked us to do, and we're going to start preparing that. And hopefully, if everything goes right, we'll do that. We'll do a good job and serve people that may not have looked at this the same way as we look at it.
That's right.
Except I'll tell you this, there is profit in the way I do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I promise you there is profit in the way I do it, because I like to spend money even at 81.
Even at 81, yeah. He's got a birthday coming up the 12th of next month. So happy early birthday.
Thank you.
Thanks again. It was nice meeting your lovely wife with us, and Casey, Joyce, appreciate y'all sitting here with us, and appreciate you guys going on an extended version with us here on Profit Time here on Turfs Up Radio. And I'm going to say it. Mike just said it, but I'm going to say it because that's the way I like to close my show. Remember, profit is not a dirty word. We'll see you Wednesday.
Amen.